One of the coolest moments for me at the Sony press conference was the gameplay reveal of the new Spider-Man on PS4. The game looks absolutely amazing. If you don't know, this is from the makers Insomniac Games, who brought us games including Sunset Overdrive and Ratchet & Clank, and it looks like they are doing a fantastic job with the game. And I love Spider-Man, I love Marvel, and I've been waiting a long time for a very good Spider-Man game. So I've scoured the internet looking for every nitbit of information I could find on this game. So here it is. Here are 7 confirmed facts about Spider-Man on the PS4. Number 1, Spider-Man is Peter Parker. So it is confirmed by Insomniac Games that it is Peter Parker's version of Spider-Man that we'll be playing in the game. Specifically, this is a 23-year-old Peter Parker. So he's much older, and he has been doing his job as Spider-Man for a few years now. So he is at a particular level of mastery, and that can definitely be seen in a lot of the gameplay that we actually saw. We will get to play segments of the game as Spider-Man, and Peter will also feature within the game. Now, whether this will be in the form of cutscenes or whether they'll actually be playable sections of the game as Peter Parker, obviously we don't know any information about that at the moment, but they have said that they do want to touch on Peter Parker and some of the problems and issues that he's having at the time. Obviously, he's just graduated college, he's looking for work or starting his first job, all those sorts of challenges that he's facing. And I think it's a good decision to make, because obviously one of the things that makes Spider-Man such a likable hero is that he's human. You know, he's fallible, and he has insecurities, he has fears, and I think that makes him a very likable and relatable character. So I think it's good that they've chosen to focus on Peter Parker, and he's also one of my favorite Spider-Men as well, so I'm very happy that they have decided to do that. Number 2, a new story. So the story of Spider-Man on the PS4 is not connected to the comics or movies at all. It is set in its own unique universe, and it is Insomniac Games' take on their version of Spider-Man, on a new Spider-Man. Now, of course, it will borrow heavily from the comics and in terms of villains and characters, but it is completely and entirely new story, and I think that is a good thing for Insomniac Games, and I think they're going to do a good job. Number 3, an open world. So I know a lot of people, when they watched the gameplay trailer at the Sony conference, were very concerned because it did look very scripted in terms of the gameplay and the combat and the quick time events. And you know, I think a lot of people were expecting or sort of assuming that the game would be very kind of like Uncharted, and that it had, you know, very, very set pieces and it has a very linear gameplay, linear story. Well, Insomniac Games have confirmed that that is not the case, that it is actually a massive open world, and that, you know, you can't really have a Spider-Man game without having that open world element. And they have said that you will be able to explore all of Manhattan, and that it will be massive in scale. So it will be, you know, sort of similar to what we have with Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 2, where that was a completely open world experience. We also could see hints of that as well in the gameplay. You could definitely see a mini-map on there, and that's great because, you know, Spider-Man has to be able to swing around the city of Manhattan, and I'm sure there'll be lots of like main quest missions and side missions and things for you to explore. So I'm very, very happy about that. Number 4, name drops. So there were a couple of name drops in the gameplay footage. Of course, we got to see characters that we're all familiar with, including Wilson Fisk, who a lot of you will know from Netflix's Daredevil. He's a big character in that. It looks like Wilson Fisk in this at the beginning of the game, though, which is where the sort of gameplay was set. He's actually in prison. But there were some new characters in there that I'm not massively familiar with. There was Mr. Negative, who Peter called Martin Lee. Now, he is a character from the comics and is quite recent. Apparently, he was created about 6 years ago, and actually is quite closely connected to Peter Parker, because Martin Lee actually runs a homeless shelter that Peter's Aunt May works at. So Peter obviously just has some connection to him, him. I don't know very much about Mr. Negative. We do obviously know that he runs his own kind of like mafia kind of group called the Inner Demons, and that it looks like he's trying to sort of take over the areas that Wilson Fisk was controlling and sort of become like the new kingpin. We saw Captain Yuri Watanabe as well, who Peter was talking to as he was swinging through the cities, and it's confirmed that at this time Peter Parker is working with the police, and that Captain Yuri Watanabe is like his contact in the police force. So you could say she's like the Commissioner Gordon of the Spider-Man universe, kind of, or the Oracle of Spider-Man universe. As well, we got to see a little bulletin board which said Norman Osborn for mayor, or re-elected for mayor. So Norman Osborn is going to be in the game perhaps, and that means obviously maybe we'll have Green Goblin. And there was a little gem at the end of the trailer, if you saw, which showed us Miles Morales is going to be there, and that's very interesting. So are we going to have two Spider-Men in this game? Is Miles going to be another Spider-Man? Is he from an alternate reality? Will Peter Parker be training him? Will he be a controllable character? They have said he's not going to be just a cameo, that he will be a character in the game. So obviously whether that's going to just be in cutscenes or Peter's interaction with him, I hope he's going to be a playable character, because that would be really cool, and I'm sure he would handle very, very differently to Peter's Spider-Man. Number 5, a fluid combat system and stealth. Now the combat and the stealth elements and the movement in the game looked absolutely phenomenal, and it definitely gave me chills, but it also gave me feelings of the Batman Arkham games. And I always thought when playing the Batman Arkham games that they reminded me heavily of Spider-Man. You know, like Batman's sort of warning signal is very much like the Spidey sense. It just looked great. I mean, we got to see some bits where he was stealthily sort of webbing people and pulling them up, and using environmental takedowns as well. And it just, the whole gameplay just massively reminded me of Batman, and you know, that's great. I think if they're modeling, you know, some of the combat and some of the stuff after Batman, then that can only be a good thing. And it just looked so fluid. It looked really weighted as well. You know, the webbing looked great. It looked fantastic. The ability to sort of stick enemies to the wall, to use the webbing on the environment to take them down. It just, you know, the spider sense, the dodging, the ducking, the sort of acrobatics involved in it as well. It just looked fluid. It looked fun. It looked great, and I can't wait to play it. I cannot wait to get my hands on this game. Number 6, gadgets. I'm very happy to see that gadgets are going to be in. We got to see one gadget specifically, which was like a web trap that basically they stuck to a wall, and it's motion censored. So when the enemy walked past it, it grabbed them and pulled them and sort of webbed them and stuck them onto the wall. They have confirmed though that this web trap can be used in a variety of ways. So yes, you can attach it to a wall to sort of grab onto someone, but you can also attach it to enemies, and when they walk in proximity to another enemy, it will sort of shoot out at that enemy and sort of pull them together. As well, you could sort of even kick them up in the air and shoot it at them in the air, and it would pull them down to the ground and sort of ground pound them. So I love the fact that the gadgets are going to be in here. This is Peter Parker, and one element of Peter Parker that hasn't really been explored in as much detail is just how bright he is and how incredible he is as an inventor. And you know, I love the fact that gadgets are going to make a sort of appearance in this game. And number 7, epic set pieces and some quick time events. So I'm okay with quick time events. We did see in the gameplay, you know, there were some definite parts when he was sort of trying to save the city from that massive crane, where there were definite sort of quick time events and things where you had sort of time pressing the button and things like that. And you know, they're fine. You know, they make them exciting, and there are elements where the quick time events really make sense. Like, for example, when he was doing the whole sort of web shooting, and you had to continually press R1 and L1. I thought that was great. I thought that was a really good use of kind of quick time, and I'm okay with them because I loved the action. I loved how exciting it was. I just hope they won't overuse it. If we have sort of quick time events very similar to sort of like in the Uncharted games, where they were very much definitely scripted action, exciting superhero moments, I'm completely down with that. That's fine, so long as they don't overuse the quick time events. That's my only concern. But I think they'll do a good job, and I think they'll balance it quite nicely. So it was only a short sort of gameplay trailer, but what we saw, the game looks absolutely fantastic. Now, there is no confirmed release date yet for the game. It's set to come out sometime in 2018. I think it's going to be towards the back end of 2018 myself personally. But everything I saw on Spider-Man, it looks great, it looks fantastic, and I'm very, very excited to play it. But anyway, let me know what you guys thought of the gameplay. Are you a Spider-Man fan like me? What did you like about it? Do you have any concerns? Let me know in the comment section below. I hope you guys are having a great week. I'll be back again with more E3 content later this week on games, news, and everything E3 related. I hope you guys are having a great week. Take care, and as always, happy gaming. On the PS4. Number 1, Spider-Man is Peter Parker. So it is confirmed by Insomniac Games that it is Peter Parker's version of Spider-Man that we'll be playing in the game. Specific Insomniac Games, who brought us games including Sunset Overdrive and Ratchet and Clank, and it looks like they are doing a fantastic job with the game. And I love Spider-Man, I love Marvel, and I've been waiting a long time for a very good Spider-Man game. So I have scoured the internet looking for every nitbit of information I could find on this game. So here it is. Here are 7 confirmed facts about Spider-Man. Specifically, this is a 23-year-old Peter Parker. So he's much older, and he has been doing his job as Spider-Man for a few years now. So he is at a particular level of mastery, and that can definitely be seen. One of the coolest moments for me at the Sony press conference was the gameplay reveal of the new Spider-Man on PS4. The game looks absolutely amazing. If you don't know, this is from the makers